So I couldn't really find a Indiana Jones looking hat, so this is the closest one that I could find. This is the hat I'll be wearing on this video where I talk about Bethesda, Machine Games, and Lucasfilm Games' new Indiana Jones game. So, hey everybody, Bloodmoon Bobby here. So, once again, I apologize for being really late on this topic. I've had a really exhausting week, and I was unable to talk about this back when Bethesda announced this new Indiana Jones game, but I'm starting to catch up on some topics. I just did a video talking about new Pokemon Snap, which you could check out right over here. And as of actually the day I'm making this video, I'll be working on a review of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which I watched with Gabby. I'll save my thoughts on that film for when I do that review with Gabby. But anyway, on to the Lucasfilm franchise that we're supposed to talk about in this video, Indiana Jones, and more specifically, we're talking about the new game that Bethesda is working on with MachineGames and Lucasfilm Games. So let's get into this. And so just like I said, Bethesda, MachineGames, and Lucasfilm Games are working together on this new standalone Indiana Jones game, which is going to have an original story. IGN looked around at the teaser for this game, and they spotted some hints that allude to things like the game being set in Vatican City. They also said there's a plane ticket to Rome in the trailer that's marked for October 1937, so maybe that's some hints about the setting and the date this game takes place in. And the game will be executive produced by the one and only Todd Howard, Mr. It Just Works, which I like that joke my sister introduced me to. So I'm very interested in seeing where this goes. I like MachineGames. I think they're a good group of developers. I've played a fair bit of Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, and the beginning of Wolfenstein Youngblood, and especially The New Colossus. I really like it's really fun and intense combat. The stealth mechanics are pretty good. My favorite, some of my favorite parts, though, even though they could get kind of tricky at times, were the shooting mechanics themselves, especially in parts of the game where you could have the character BJ Blazkowicz using two weapons at once. I thought that was really cool, and using the axe. As somebody who got very much used to Doom 2016, I felt that Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus especially, was like, it was like a great choice. It's like, okay, I've had a lot of fun with Doom. What could I also play alongside? And Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus, going over to it just felt, very kind of seamless, and it was just really good fun. Now, that being said, I don't think that an Indiana Jones game is going to be nearly as dystopian and gritty as something like Wolfenstein, which, I mean, I know it's interesting how, I know that a lot of people brought up how, it's interesting how in some of the Indiana Jones movies he's fighting Nazis, and MachineGames is most famous for developing this game franchise where you're going around taking down Nazis. And there's similarities with the franchises, although I don't think an Indiana Jones game is going to be nearly as gritty and dystopian. And yes, even though the Indiana Jones movies had their fair share of gruesome moments, like I think of the face melting scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, or the heart getting ripped out in Temple of Doom, which really scared the shit out of my sister as a kid. Even though the moments are there, I don't think in this modern day and age, I don't think that Lucasfilm will want Bethesda MachineGames to go in that sort of direction. And also, it would just make the game too similar to Wolfenstein, shall we say. So I think tone-wise, it's probably going to be closer to something like we've seen in something like the new Star Wars movies or the new Mandalorian, where, yeah, there's some, really intense, things that happen, lots of really crazy action, and has their share of more darker moments, yes, but I wouldn't expect something like overly gory or anything overly over the top in a new Indiana Jones game. One other thing that MachineGames and Bethesda could do to help make this game stand out is I also wouldn't expect a new Indiana Jones game to be just a straightforward first-person shooter, like something like a Wolfenstein. Like, in my opinion, I could imagine something more like an action-adventure game with more varied kinds of combat. So maybe there are times where we see where they're gonna have like indie firing guns. But throughout the movies, we've also seen him use swords, and of course his trusty whip, and also the famous fist fight scenes. Of course, the punching sound effects in the Indiana Jones movies are so famous. Of course, we'd have to see the final game itself to really get a sense of what Lucasfilm Games, MachineGames, and Bethesda are going for, but I could see this as an opportunity to have more varied types of combat, and that's why I'm interested in looking at this Indiana Jones game. Now, that being said, I know that, especially as of fairly recently, Bethesda has been known to publish some games that have had their share of quirks and problems. I think back to when Fallout 76 first launched. I remember people were saying that the game was really buggy, or Doom Eternal. Even though now I've played Doom Eternal and it's a really good game, I remember when it first came out, a lot of people complained that there is this kind of DRM in the game. I don't think it's in the game as of now. I've mostly been playing the Switch version, and I haven't come across that issue in my copy of the game. So, I'm not necessarily saying that this Indiana Jones game is going to be instantly dead on arrival, or it's going to be insta-bad or anything like that, but it's just the sort of thing that kind of keeps my third eye open at night, just in terms of what I should probably look out for in a game that Bethesda is coming out with. And even though those two examples weren't developed by MachineGames per se, I would still kind of keep my third eye open just in case if there's any issues that I may want to be aware of. I also know there's a really big question over which consoles could this new Bethesda game be released on. Interestingly enough, Bethesda did not announce any platforms that the game will be coming out on. What really raises a really big question is that Microsoft is currently in the process of acquiring Bethesda. Another really big question about this game is whether or not this new Indiana Jones game is going to be exclusive to the PC and the Xbox consoles, or if it'll get released on, say, something like the PlayStation 5. And I think that's a really big question mark up in the air. I mean, me personally, as somebody who's leaning more towards getting a PS5, I would kind of want to see it. I would want to see it on the PlayStation 5, but then again, if Microsoft is going through acquiring Bethesda, then it might be the thing where they might lean towards making it more exclusive to the PC and Xbox Series consoles. So I'm really kind of torn on where I think it's going to go with that sort of thing. I personally would prefer if they released it on multiple consoles, but we'll see how that goes. And no release date has been given for this new Indiana Jones game. I mean, I don't want to rush. I don't want to see the developers rush to make this game come out. Me personally, I think it would be interesting if this new game came out alongside the new Indiana Jones movie, the fifth one, which is, as of the recording of this video, scheduled to come out in 2022, which, by the way, the movie is now being directed by James Mangold, the guy who made Logan and Ford versus Ferrari. It's not Steven Spielberg anymore. So maybe it would be interesting if the game launched alongside the film. I wouldn't be surprised if Lucasfilm and Bethesda are ideally thinking that would be a good time to launch the game, but I just want the game to come out when it is ready, when it is polished. Maybe it won't be perfect, but when it doesn't have any super crazy glitches that end up in the headlines. So we'll see how that goes. So let me know your thoughts down below. What do you personally think of the idea of this new Indiana Jones game? Are you interested in playing it? Leave all those thoughts down below. Let me also know what kind of features or gameplay mechanics you would like to see in the game. Until next time, this has been Blood Moon Bobby, and thanks for watching. Hi everyone, thanks for watching this Blood Moon Bobby video. Like and share the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel to see more of my videos, and ring the bell to be notified about my latest uploads. Don't forget to follow me on social media for my latest opinions and video updates. I hope to see you next time.